always to be here on this particular evening. I did humbly and with alacrity accept Carl's invitation, but also with a deep, deep humility, knowing full well that those who travel the high road of humility in this town are not bothered by heavy traffic. And we've all now witnessed this inspirational ritual at the inception of the remarkable evening. So the gridiron singes but doesn't burn. you bet. Oh, yeah. That's right, yes. Very few, actually, will be lucky enough to get out of here without getting their white ties torched. Some have already had that. And that brand up there is still lit, and the audience about half so. I spoke at the winter Gridiron Dinner several years ago, and they said it'd be a cold day when they invited me back, but that's not so. It was so cold in Casper, Wyoming the other day, I saw a lawyer going down the street with his hands in his own pockets. But let me tell you a quick Wyoming story. This couple hit the sack about 3 in the morning. The phone rings. The guy says, "How the hell do I know? That's 2,000 miles from here." His wife said, "Who was it?" He said, "I don't know. Some nut called and asked if the coast was clear." Well, I see you're awake at this hour. And my dear dad was governor of Wyoming and U.S. Senator. He loved to tell the story about the old rancher and the pickup truck. He had almost everything he owned in the back of that truck. He was tooling down the highway in the 1930s. A highway patrolman stopped him. Said, "Going a little fast there, aren't you?" He said, "No, didn't think I was." "Well," he said, "you were." He said, "You're speeding." He said, "Well, can't believe it. It's impossible." He said, "Haven't you got a governor on that truck?" He said, "Nope." He said, "That's manure you smell." It's all right, Jim. Pardon me there. No, it's all right. He did tell that, I promise. But you know, I've heard all those Baker stories. I heard just this evening, just as I walked in, that Baker, not this, our Jim, but Baker and Swigert are working together on a new national magazine called Repent House. Well, it's election year, 88. You've all pounded out a bit of copy on that. But these are times of cynicism in our country toward all of us in politics, Democrats and Republicans alike. Perhaps evidenced best by the two guys in the penitentiary in another state. One turned to the other and said, "The food was better here when you were governor." And yet in our remarkable country, we always prevail. For in these United States, everybody's vote counts, and in Cook County, Illinois, that is certainly true many times over. But it's still tough to get good people in government. I think America is the only country in the world where a person is presumed innocent until the president offers him a job. And I must say I've always been absolutely fascinated as to how we have raised speculation and conjecture to an art form in this town. Why, if only so-and-so had done this in Iowa, or New Hampshire, or Connecticut, or South Carolina, or Illinois, would have all been different. We get delightfully enmeshed and transfixed by that business in this fascinating village. But when people become slaves to information and 24 hours worth of news, not knowledge, mind you, news, then the only way to plump up a 24-hour newscast is to run in quite a few what-ifs. So I think of the ifs of history. What if Julius Caesar had lived? What if Alexander had not been great? What, what if the Russian winter hadn't numbed Napoleon? What if Columbus had sailed further east? What if Herr Schicklgruber had just kept painting houses? What if Anthony had never met Cleopatra? Ah, the ifs of history. And of course you know that the first time Anthony met Cleopatra on her magnificent barge, he stared levelly and coolly at her and he said, "I'm not here to talk." And she said sweetly, "Well, I'm not prone to argue." And so as with the ifs of history, we have the ifs of politics. So what happens on this coming election day will be what always happens on election day. The good people of America will continue to elect and re-elect a few good souls and a few bad ones. They will throw out a few rascals and hire on some new ones. And yet the American people in years past have always noted that politicians always fail to keep their promises. I guess that's one of the reasons that the country has survived for over 200 years. It is a strange arena that we work in, Democrats and Republicans alike. Let me share with you the greatest definition of politics I've ever heard, very short. In politics, there are no right answers, only a continuing flow of compromises between groups, resulting in a changing, cloudy, and ambiguous series of public decisions where appetite and ambition compete openly with knowledge and wisdom. That's the game we get to play here in this remarkable arena. Well, I've always thoroughly enjoyed the Gridiron Capers. I remember an evening we were treated to the terpsichorean talents of Phil Jalen as he glided across the stage with Ginger Rogers. You remember that? Dazzlingly svelte and debonair he was, and don't think he didn't love that. He's still talking about it. Same evening that Dave Broder sat there in his argyle socks in a ragged wicker chair singing bits of doggerel, old couplets, vagabond airs, and shards of Gilbert and Sullivan, and all the while pretending that someone else had written the lyrics. And your President Carl hamming it up royally, but with a very nice voice, Carl. I like that. A lady. No, I won't go into that. No, I won't. I'll sing with you some other time. Anyway, it's been special. And you gather here together to celebrate gentle humor, camaraderie in this great country of ours, and we put away our partisanship and our pettiness, or should. And what's always most impressive to me is the very authentic, good and great fun that you and the Fourth Estate have as you plan this great evening. The skits, the music, the lyrics, the glee and excitement of it all shines through your eyeballs. You can't hide that. And Lord, how important it is to be able to laugh at ourselves when we grapple with the serious issues of the day. My dear mother always referred to humor as the irreplaceable solvent against the abrasive elements of life. She taught me that. So it is. So there is no Republican side to be presented tonight by me. There is only an American side. The people of America tire greatly watching us go through the feckless exercise of whether this Republican amendment will prevail or this Democratic amendment will work, or what or who can do what to who can roll the Social Security issue under the other guy's chair and hope it'll go off next year, when we all know it'll be in sick condition in the year 2030, but we're not going to touch it. It's just used to blow the other guy up. Always figuring out how to lay the snares and the trap lines. There are some in this city who, if they were to harness and direct their creative energies to the nation's problems, instead of losing sleep figuring out how to stick it to the other party, would find they would move in 7-league boots toward the solutions to some of our toughest problems. Maybe things will finally work out when we begin to say the same things to each other in public that we say in private. Sure, we strike the deal and cut the compromise, and we all do that in politics. You learn how to compromise an issue without compromising yourself, how to take a crumb when you can't get a loaf. That's been the history and nature of our craft. But in this day and age, you strike the deal, and 10 minutes later, one of the participants is standing bathed in white lights with his suits half bleached out, with a microphone stuffed under his snoot, saying just the actually opposite thing of what he was saying in the meeting 20 minutes before. It won't work that way. But we have a fine country, fine pride in it, fine leaders. This great president steps down. This is his last gridiron. And I just want to say that we ought to praise those who are actually in the arena. Those who are out there for 6 months or a year or 2 years of their lives, trying so very hard to get the voters to hear what they're saying, to sense the nature of their cause. And it must be a cause. Why would you do that if it weren't? We should not make fun of them. We should come to admire them. Admire them for at least sincerely trying. The rest of us don't do that. They're the ones who are greatly involved and working and coming up short, sure, but they're always in the fray. I think that is the essence of America. Striving, hoping, experimenting, innovating, searching, yes, praying. They are not perfect. Why should we expect perfection in politics when we don't have it in our own lives? No reason I know. So amid the spotlights and the laughter and the music and the satire and the singeing, I want to recall that great phrase of that great American patriot, Will Rogers, who brought a strong sense of self and kindly good humor to our lives in another time of turmoil, saying, "It's great to be great, but it's greater to be human." And to me, that is the essence of the Gridiron Club and this always memorable and remarkable evening. And now I'm going to close with a very short historical note about one of the wiliest gentlemen politicians of all time, for we are a wily lot. A short tale, if you will, of the days of Prohibition. Some may remember. Maybe, I'm sure. The WCTU, the Women's Christian Temperance Union, was terribly instrumental in the passage of the Volstead Act, and you might imagine the group against the Prohibition Amendment had very few members. WCTU was meeting in convention assembled in Louisville, Kentucky. At the same time, the Association Against the Prohibition Amendment had their small gathering, meeting in a downstairs room of a hotel. It's the same hotel. The way you received admission into the meeting of the group against the Prohibition Amendment was that there was this little wicket in the door, and if you blew in it and your breath was familiar, they let you in. So they held their final meeting as they elected the old Kentucky colonel, Colonel Breckinridge, chairman of the committee for the umpteenth time. The old colonel left the meeting feeling exuberant about his re-election, having consumed a julep or two and feeling no pain. He strutted by the great hall, where nearly 3,000 ladies of the WCTU were gathered there in assemblage. And the Madam President spotted her fellow townsman weaving down the corridor, and she called out to him. She said, "Oh, Colonel Breckinridge." And he turned and doffed his hat, resplendent in his white shoes and white stockings and his Palm Beach suit, gold-tipped cane, marvelous snowy white mustache, and the Panama hat. And then the Madame President said, "Won't you step to the rostrum, please, Colonel?" Well, the ladies realized that the Madam President had found old Exhibit A himself. And he was a bit bewildered, and he half staggered to the podium, kind of like a sardine going back, and all the ladies really finally figured out that they had the old boy himself right there before them, and they were just full of mirth, laughter, and high old glee while there wasn't a dry seat or dry eye in the house. And the Madam President stepped to the microphone and smiled and said, "Ladies of the WCTU, I wish to introduce to you Colonel Breckinridge, fellow townsman and president of the Association Against the Prohibition Amendment." Gales of laughter, gales of laughter. Amid gales, she continued on very sweetly and graciously, and she said, "And the Colonel has agreed to respond to the toast on water. Well, the ladies just simply roared, but they had reckoned without the old Kentucky colonel who had been rallying to regain his composure. He looked out over that vast audience and he said, "Madam President of the WCTU and ladies of the WCTU, your Madam President has asked me to respond to the toast to water, purest and best of all God's creations. I've seen it glisten in the tiny teardrops on the sleeping lids of infancy. I've seen it go coursing down the dimpled cheeks of youth. And I've seen it go in rushing torrents down the wrinkled cheeks of age. I've seen it in the blades of grass and the leaves of trees, sparkling like tiny diamonds as the morning sun rose in resplendent glory over the eastern hills. I've seen it in the heavens as they shudder and weep in gentle rain and splash it out in shimmering droplets upon the warm and fertile earth to nurture the tiny tendrils of fruit and grain. I have seen it come tumbling down the mountainsides in cascades fleecy as a bridal veil, with the music of liquid silver filling the vast forest arches with symphonies sweet and dim. And I have seen it in the silent river, rippling over pebbly bottoms, purling about jutting stones, roaring in mad cataracts over precipitous falls, this mad rush to join the Father of Waters. And I've seen it in the Father of Waters go in slow and majestic sweep to join the ocean. And I have seen it in the ocean, on whose broad bosom floats the battleships of all the nations and the commerce of the world. But he said, ladies of the WCTU, as a beverage, it's a damn failure.